Balls.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
The following program is for mature and logical audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Play YMCA. Go ahead. Let's go. Nice and loud.
They're pain in the market. At some point, you're unwilling to tolerate this idea of a Trump put. Is there a threshold?
I think your question is so stupid. I think it's I don't want anything to go down. But sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something. And we have such a horrible, we have been treated so badly by other countries because we had stupid leadership that allowed this to happen. They took our businesses, they took our money, they took our jobs, they moved it to Mexico, they moved it to Canada, they moved a lot of it to China, and it's not sustainable. We're not going to do it. Now we have hundreds of millions of dollars just pouring into our country. On a monthly basis, it's pouring, it's already started because they put tariffs on it. And eventually it's going to straighten out and our country will be solid and strong.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Thinking Logically, the show where we explain what's going on in the world around you from a logical perspective. I'm your host, Joseph Anthony Corsai. We got a lot to go over today. The stock market, that's been a roller coaster since Friday. We saw protests break out all over the country this weekend, including in our very own Beaver County Courthouse. Barack Obama, he made some comments over the weekend that make him sound like a total hypocrite. We'll get into that in the second segment. Illegal immigrants, they're out bragging about how they're in the country and they're unafraid. Oh, and apparently dire wolves have been brought back to life. Are we playing God here? Lots to go over today. Oh, and the Pirates home opener. We learned one thing. Ryan, you know what that one thing was?
I learned a lot of things from the opener, but go ahead.
Owner Bob Nutting is so cheap, he'll replace Roberto Clemente's jersey in right field with an advertisement for hard teas and lemonade. They didn't even tell anyone. They didn't tell his family. They just did it.
That's one of the most Pittsburgh Pirate things I've seen. But I got to be honest with you, it was par for the course for the rest of the night. The fans gave Nutting a bunch of it all night long. I
thought they were going to beat him up.
Did you see that where he was walking up the rotunda?
Yeah, they need to do like what they did to Cersei Lannister and just have him walk around the city naked. The Walk of Atonement for what he's done to this.
And then
city.
the product on the field wasn't any good either. So it was par for the course. The whole night was a disaster.
Think about how selfish and I wouldn't say disrespectful it is for a true legend of the game to just take his jersey down for Surfside hard teas and lemonades. He played 17 years in Pittsburgh, and then he would have played more, but he died in a plane crash trying to help people that were less fortunate. There's actually an award for Roberto Clemente.
He easily was the best Pittsburgh Pirate ever. Even Willie Stargell is a distant second. Roberto was clearly the best.
He wasn't the first one to get 3,000 hits, was he? But he has 3,000 hits exactly, I think, and then he died in the plane crash after.
He has, yes, correct.
I don't understand. The Surfside sign, I'm looking at it right. It's not even that big. You mean to tell me there's no room for anywhere else? This is a baseball stadium.
That takes a lot of steps because, for one, you got to say, okay, where do we want to put this sign? Somebody decided that was a good idea to put it over that, and then they went through with it, and then the final thing was up there, and everybody's seen it and said, you know what, that looks good. Who cares if we
Excellent.
cover it?
Awesome.
So it passed so many sets of eyes.
We're going to sell lots of surf signs with this.
Come on.
All right, stay tuned until next week when we cover them changing the name from the Roberto Clemente Bridge to the Sheets Brother Bridge or something. I don't know what it could be. All right, let's get into the show here. So, did you know there was a protest in Beaver County this weekend?
I did. I seen it on social media, yes.
I didn't know they were planning it. I didn't know it was happening. I didn't go. Like I said, I didn't even know there was a protest going on. But people started sending me videos on, I think it was Saturday. And all I'm going to say about the protest in Beaver County is this. If you were the one on videos saying you hate America...
Oh...
Did you hear that?
Oh my God, yes, it's disgusting.
Like they say in Quipdown, if you hate America, then take your hat, your coat, and leave. It's not that hard. Rosie O'Donnell did it. But let's cover the protests that we saw spring up in cities across the country this weekend. What are these people even protesting? Is it Elon and Doge? If so, these people were protesting against exposing government fraud. Okay, fine. What's weird is Elon Musk called this. He said this would happen to him in a social media post years ago. Let me read the actual post on Twitter. It might have been Twitter then, but it's X now. From September 15th, 2022. Elon Musk. In the past, I voted Democrat because they were mostly the kindness party. But they have become the party of division and hate, so I can no longer support them and will vote Republican. Now, watch their dirty tricks campaign against me unfold. Talk about baseball references. Babe Ruth calling the shot right there. He knew they were going to go after him. And like that, right there, September of 2022, almost 2.5 years ago. So for those of you saying that Elon is a government leech that took EV subsidies, I've heard that over the weekend. I've seen a few interviews of people saying that. Let me read you this post from Insurrection Barbie on X because she puts it out perfectly. Obama gave out $2.4 billion in loans to EV companies, including $465 million to Tesla. While every one of them folded, filed bankruptcy, and robbed the taxpayer of the money, Elon Musk paid back his $465 million government loan early, including the $20 million interest payment. Amazing. So again, why does everyone hate Elon all of a sudden? What could it be? What could it be? All right, but let's get back to these protests we saw over the weekend, especially in the big blue cities, Pittsburgh included. Number one, audience. How do you have that many people come out at the same time, completely organized? Like I said, I'm talking the big cities. How do you have millions come out across the country, completely organized, a few months after a president wins in a landslide, without it being funded by a billionaire? How does that make any sense at all? How could this be organic? How could this be grassroots? The election wasn't that long ago. Trump won in a landslide. And then all of a sudden, after a few weeks, millions of people spring up across cities to protest what he's doing, whenever we knew his plan the entire time. This was always a part of his plan, cutting the government spending, tariffs. You can't have protests going on simultaneously across the country in every city, and small towns even too, without planning it for months. And if you're going to plan it for months, you're going to need a lot of money. Think about it this way, audience. We can all agree Joe Biden was terrible for pretty much 4 years. Either he was a ghost or he was terrible. You saw FJB chants across NASCAR racetracks, college football stadiums, anywhere where people gathered to do something aside talk about politics. But did you ever see a giant group of people get together and protest anything that the Joe Biden administration has done ever? Drone striking an interpreter, killing a family, the Afghanistan debacle, making people wear masks for the first 100 days of the administration, the vaccine mandates. Did you ever see anyone for 4 years spring up and protest like we saw this weekend? The protest we saw over the weekend, they even had a name. The hands-off protests. Where did that name even come from? How did the word spread so fast? I've never heard of the hands-off movement before last week. If you're an audience member listening and you've heard of it before, please call in, educate me. They're trying to get you to believe that America is divided over cuts to our wasteful spending. When did these people stop supporting electric vehicles and start torching them with fossil fuels like gasoline? I've asked that question 100 times. When did this start? When did this start and why? Some of these liberals, they're 6 months out from shouting at Teslas on the motorway while eating their own excrement. Does anyone still call it the motorway? I don't know. Are they protesting the tariffs? Because the whole point of the tariffs is to try to bring manufacturing back to this country. You know, if they're protesting the tariffs, when did the Democrat Party and liberals start supporting overseas slave labor to cut production costs? It's kind of like, what they're against. Are they protesting having an end to the endless wars? Because we've never been so close to peace in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia, than what we are right now. And Trump's been in office for like 80 days. When did Democrats, honestly, I want to say become worse than Philly sports fans, but they're not torching anything yet. It's not like the summer of love. What we saw over the weekend was at least peaceful. I don't know what their plan is, but what they're protesting, what their plan. Maybe the plan is to eventually let it get more fiery and fiery until one of these protesters, I don't want to say it, gets shot by police or there's something. Have another George Floyd situation this time in May of 2025. I don't know what their plan is, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands of protesters taking to the streets in every city, but the Dems in Congress have a 21% approval rating. It doesn't make any sense. So let's cover what's going on in the stock market. Now, Ryan, do you remember our March 13th episode of Thinking Logically?
I'm sure once I start hearing it, yes.
Okay, so we broke down things in the stock market and what we could look forward to in the next month in the stock market. I believe we read a post from 4chan. It wasn't an expert. It wasn't anyone you see on MSNBC or Jim Cramer. It was just a random person on 4chan. Ryan, play that minute and 30-second audio from our March 13th episode, me reading the 4chan, explaining what we're seeing going on in the market. This is from a month ago. This is from early March, this post. And then just, we're in today. Let's hear it again from March 13th.
Our course, so we are very big on the chanting, and you'll have all the
That's the
energy
wrong
today.
one, sorry.
So,
Play the next one. That's my fault.
So there's this post going around on 4chan, and I read it, and I don't know, I'm not an economist, but it just makes sense to me. It claims that Trump is doing all this on purpose. I'm just going to read the 4chan post. It claims Trump is trying to crash the stock market at least 20%, causing a flight into treasuries. This will cause the Fed to slash interest rates so he can refinance the debt to near 0% and cause a deflationary spiral, which will lower the cost of everything. He also intends to use tariffs as its incentive for companies to build in the U.S. to avoid having to pay them. The tariffs and the resulting global trade war will also force American farmers to sell more of their goods in the United States due to retaliatory trade measures by other countries, which will directly lower the price of groceries in the United States. And I think we still do pay farmers not to farm in this country, so there's that too. The post also goes on to say more than 94% of stock is owned by just 8% of the U.S. population. I don't know about that because of 401ks and stuff like that. Anyway, Trump is literally taking money from the rich and giving it to the poor. This is why Trump is playing the game of hokey pokey with tariffs. One day he has 25% tariffs on Mexico, the next he doesn't. This is to cause extreme volatility in the markets and a desperate need and demand to flee towards treasury bonds, which are much more stable but offer much lower potential return. This is also why eggs are cheaper now than they were under Joe Biden.
Audience, I hope you were listening.
Comes to eggs, but it makes sense to me, a dummy.
It does. It made sense to me, a dummy then. And where are we at today, audience, a month later? Stock market losses are now the main story in the legacy media, but it's just not the U.S. markets in red. Stock markets across the globe opened in the red. I could read you all these that opened in the red, but I'm going to read. So the S&P 500 finished up 0.07%. Meanwhile, you look at other countries, Japan's minus 7.8, Taiwan minus 9.7, the EU minus 4.7, Great Britain 4.4, Canada 1.2%, Germany 4.1%, Mexico 5.1. Everyone's getting killed, but the United States somehow seems to be doing the best. Look at the price of oil. We talked about that too. It's dropping, and there's some saying that's bad. How is that supposed to be bad? It's good for so many reasons. Low oil prices means, number one, Russia can't fund their war as much anymore, and they're more likely to come to the table. Also, lower oil prices mean less inflation because it costs less money to move goods. Japan stock market, they were down nearly 9% on the day, most of the day. And then what happened? Japan's prime minister said he's ready to visit the United States and negotiate tariffs with President Trump. Did anyone else follow it? It was reported that 50 countries reached out to the United States. Now I'm hearing people say it's 70 countries want to negotiate tariff deals. Amazing. European Union offers the United States to abolish reciprocal tariffs on industrial goods. Japan, Germany. We have $53 billion annual automotive trade deficit with Japan. EU, $40 billion. Korea, I'm sure it's 40, 50 billion too. Why have we never thought of tariffs before this? Benjamin Netanyahu, he was at the White House today. Coming from him, we'll eliminate trade deficit with U.S. Eliminate trade barriers as well. Taiwan, they're also offering zero tariffs to the U.S. in response to Trump's tariffs. So all this news came out, and then noon, the stock market started reversing its losses for the day. I'm going to read you a tweet from Unusual Wells on X. This is truly unusual. Today, the S&P 500 added $3 trillion off a rumor unconfirmed that they were considering a 90-day pause on tariffs. Then, the White House confirmed this wasn't true. The S&P lost $2.5 trillion 5 minutes later. So is someone manipulating the markets? I don't know. But all I know is it seems that a lot of countries, after a few days, remember, the tariffs aren't even in effect yet. They don't go into effect until Wednesday, most of them. Countries are already bending the knee and come to the table. But the media wants you to think we're in some kind of meltdown. I don't know. Some kind of 3 Mile meltdown. I don't know. 2022. Do you realize the S&P 500 dropped almost 20% in 2022? But in 2025, we're down 7% because of tariffs, and everyone's lighting their hair on fire. Why were we not told to panic in 2022? Why did the media start panicking? There was a few banks that went under in 2022. I don't know. They're fighting these tariffs tooth and nail. Let them go, because in the end they're going to look like idiots. And if Trump is right about this, he might be able to win elections till he's 200 years old. I don't know if he can only find some kind of health serum that just keeps him alive. I don't think he'll ever lose an election. All right, let's talk about the tariffs. So on CBS's Face the Nation, Margaret Brennan, she had Trump's Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick on, and she asked him about the Heard Island tariffs. Brian, you remember the Heard Island? They're mostly just polar bears and penguins.
Yeah.
So Margaret Brennan asked, why are the Heard Islands and McDonald Islands, which don't export to the United States and are quite literally inhabited by penguins, why do they face a 10% tariff? Lutnick responded. He said, no, if you leave anything off the list, countries will try to go through those countries. We had the president put tariffs on China in 2018, and then what China started doing is they started going through other countries to get to America. And so the president knows that. He said, look, I can't let any part of the world be a place where China or other countries can ship through them. So he ended those loopholes. And me, a dummy, that makes sense to me. Audience, does it make sense to you too? Keeping countries from coming in through a back door. Kind of like immigration and the border, how Chinamen were just coming in through the back door, military-age men. Anyone, we had no idea who it was. But again, it stops people from coming in through the back door using the Heard Islands. You have to ask, though, why were these reciprocal tariffs? I think they were. Why did an island filled with penguins and polar bears have tariffs imposed on the United States in the first place? Why? Makes no sense. All right, we gotta get moving to a break here. Before that, fun fact leading into Sunday, it was supposed to be the worst day in stock market history today. Jim Cramer, CNBC's Jim Cramer on Sunday predicted a Black Monday event in the stock market today. Ryan, guess how he finished?
How's that?
So I think on Black Monday, in the 20s, whatever, 22% it went down in one day, maybe something like that. The NASDAQ finished up 0.1%, and the Dow and S&P both finished at between 0.5% and like 0.9% in the red. So it was a completely normal day on Wall Street. If you were the S&P, you kind of finished in the green a little bit. But according to Jim Cramer, I wish Jim Cramer would give us some baseball picks, something. Oh my God, I've never met a person who's more of a mush in my life. Whatever he says, the exact opposite happens. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Barack Obama. He came back into the spotlight, I guess I should say, to talk about, we'll cover it in the next segment. Stay tuned. You're listening to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM WBVP. It's Joe Corsi here from Thinking Logically to tell you about Beaver County's #1 realtor, Mark Gulla with RE/MAX Select Realty. With over 10 years experience, Mark knows all the ins and outs of the real estate business, so whether you're looking to rent, buy, sell, or swap your house, you can rely on Mark to take the hassle out. Mark Gulla of RE/MAX Select Realty, going above and beyond. It's Joe again from Thinking Logically, here to tell you about one of my favorite clothing items, the MyPillow hoodie. Two things I love the most about this hoodie are how it fits and how it feels. This hoodie is extremely roomy, and its terry cloth material makes it lighter than any other hoodie I own. Use promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings. The MyPillow hoodie. Get yours today.
Tri-State Sporting Arms on Main Street in New Brighton is now open. Stop in and explore their extensive selection of high-quality firearms, pistols, and accessories. Tri-State Sporting Arms also pays top dollar for used firearms. Their experienced and highly trained staff is here to assist you in selecting the right firearm for you. Stop on down to Beaver County's newest firearms store, Tri-State Sporting Arms, at 807 3rd Avenue, New Brighton, or check them out on Facebook.
Are you looking for a different kind of morning talk show? One that's in a town hall setting? With politics, sports, and much more. Just not in that particular order. Then join Frank Sparks weekday mornings at 6:30 for Driving in the Fast Lane on WBVP.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logic here at 99.3 FM WBVP. First segment we covered about the same idiots that were saying burn down the system are now protesting to save the same system. It's weird. We also covered tariffs and stocks, how they're no different than what went on in 2022. It's actually not as bad. Now we're going to cover former President 44, Barack Obama. He was speaking last week. I forget what it was at, but I'll read you his quote. Imagine if I had done any of this. Imagine if I had pulled Fox News' credentials from the White House press corps. Imagine if I had said to law firms that they were representing parties that were upset with my policies my administration had initiated, that you will not be allowed to go into government buildings. We will punish you economically for dissenting from the Affordable Care Act or the Iran deal. We will ferret out students who protest against my policies. It's unimaginable that the same parties that are now silent would have tolerated behavior like that for me or a whole bunch of my predecessors. And audience, my job here is to remind you what happened for the 8 years Barack Obama was president. See if you remember any of these. I'm going to read off a few. Obama sent the IRS after conservative book groups. Do you remember that, audience? Remember when he droned an American citizen for saying basically the same things that pro-Hamas students are saying on college campuses right now, today, and over last summer? Barack Obama spied on journalists. Like literally, it's documented. Ask James Rosen or Cheryl Atkinson. He seized their phone records. These are journalists. He made racial relations way worse in this country by taking sides on cases like Trayvon Martin. I guess you could say George Floyd too. There was a few other ones before the cases were even heard. And this guy's supposed to be a lawyer? He said he didn't try to get Fox News their credentials pulled, but he did, in fact, try to get Fox News removed from the press pool. Don't believe me? Look it up. Never forget, too, Barack Obama, his administration, he built the original cages at the border. Then there was the Colorado baker who was put into a continuous cycle of lawsuits. Show up to court because you didn't want to bake a cake for gay people. Then you got to show up at court again. He didn't want to bake a cake, and he was put through, like I said, continuous loss cycle of lawsuits over that. I mean, say whatever you want. That was Obama's administration, so by logic, it's on him. Obama, and this is where it gets criminal, audience, where we got to start asking, should this man face trial? And I'm serious. Barack Obama also planned the Russiagate hoax, and he did it in the Oval Office. It's going to come out. Joe Biden helped him. Biden's the one who suggested to Obama to use the Logan Act to go after Michael Flynn. We're talking early 2017 here after Trump beat Hillary Clinton. But before any of that, President Obama spied on Donald Trump's campaign in 2016. Listen, they conducted surveillance on Donald Trump, eventually using, I think it was a Title I FISA warrant for full spectrum surveillance against a presidential campaign, Donald Trump's campaign. Barack Obama did this. The guy, I just read you the quote of what he said. If I did it, think about that. A sitting president spied on his rival using secret federal courts and American intelligence at the highest levels. And he did it with lies and fraud. Then in 2017, in response to all these failed efforts, Obama, his team, his administration was left. They went into full cover-up mode. You know what that was called? That was the Robert Mueller investigation. That's what that was all about. It wasn't an investigation. It was to cover up Obama's tracks. This is Barack Obama's legacy. And you know what I have to tell Obama? Barack Obama, if you like your legacy, then you get to keep your legacy. Oh, yeah, and he killed a chef. He killed a chef and he got away with it, Ryan Obama. Did you know that?
No.
Remember that at his vacation home, his chef drowned?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, his chef just randomly drowned that day with a life preserver on in 4 feet of water after taking a swimming class or something. I don't know exactly everything behind it, but go back to 2016 when they spied on Donald Trump's campaign. You know, in one of those courts, an altered email by Kevin Kleinsmith was used as evidence to get a warrant. I think it was Carter Page, to eventually spy on Donald Trump, candidate Donald Trump. Kevin Kleinsmith, whatever happened to him, you might ask? He got caught. He had to plead guilty. But guess what, audience? He got no jail time. Kevin Kleinsmith altered an email, got approval on a FISA. That email got a FISA judge to approve surveillance on a presidential campaign. Kevin Kleinsmith never served a day in jail for doing that. Not once. Not once. But please, everyone in the media, everyone at CNN, Jim Acosta, please, cry to me more and tell me about how you can't ask a question for a few days. How is that like James Rosen being spied on by the federal government? How is that like the Donald Trump campaign being spied on by the federal government? Give me a break. Barack Obama, former President Barack Obama, should be asked these questions, and he should have to answer these questions. Again, it's all gonna come out. Let's move on, because honestly, Barack Obama just disgusts me. If we have a caller, Ryan, you could send them over. Who do we have here? Hold on one second. Just send them over, Ryan. Who we got here?
I'm Jim, the guy that's called in before.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
I'm fine. They also killed an Italian judge.
Which judge was that?
I don't remember his name. Is Scolio or something like that?
Oh, you know what? That was in the Podesta emails. I totally forgot about that. You're talking about the wet works.
I don't know. I don't remember the details. I just know that they didn't like the way that he was judging things, and he suddenly got poisoned or got...
Well, what happened was he died while on vacation, and it actually came out in the Podesta emails on WikiLeaks that Podesta was talking about wet works, doing a wet works operation in the same location where Judge Scalia, I believe, was vacationing in Texas, if my memory does not escape me. Now, Wetworks is like code word for killing someone. I don't know if you know what that means, but it's just strange coming from Podesta's email. So usually I would just brush something off like that, like they killed but when you look at Podesta's emails, and we never heard anything else after that. Podesta's emails, like Epstein Island, just poof, vanished.
Typical stuff. They do their dirty deeds, done dirt cheap, and they're done with it. Hillary was probably one that seeded their mind with fertilizer.
Well, I couldn't even bring up Hillary because all the people I'd have to list that she killed, starting with Vince Foster and numerous others.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to know too much about the Clintons. They'll just make something happen, just like if you look it up in the Forrest Gump encyclopedia collection.
But thank you for reminding me about Judge Scalia. I totally forgot about that, and it was in the Podesta emails. So,
well, you're quite welcome. I don't follow politics like I should, but that was something that I remember happening during the Obama thing, and his other thing about all this politically correct shit. When you had to have a baby party with a bunch of kids going there for a birthday party, and there was 40 of them invited. You had to buy 40 presents because nobody could be treated better than the other one, and so they bought 40 presents instead of one. I mean, they were the ones that helped to remove "don't sit in the corner with your hands on," don't just put them on timeout and don't allow them to abuse their knuckles.
So you don't follow politics. What do you think, just out of curiosity, what do you think about these tariffs?
I think I'm going to make a lot of money on it because when I get my leather shop set up, I'm going to make Donald Trump baseball caps, and it's going to say tariffs are terrific. And Donald Trump is an economic healer. Amen.
Thank you. And amen. You're right. Thank you very much for your call, Jim.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
Likewise. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jim.
See, that man had an idea to come up and actually, we're not going to be producing stuff in China anymore. We could produce this stuff here. I mean, we're getting rid of sweatshops in China. We're getting rid of sweatshops in Vietnam. We're bringing them here. We're going to have things made the right way again, not cheaply. All right. We're going to do the Amy Klobuchar, and then we're going to take a break. So let's cover Amy Klobuchar. This is a perfect transition with the Judge Scalia, because Klobuchar made a comment about judges while I think it was a Senate some kind of hearing, and she made a comment, asked a question about judges, and immediately regretted it. Ryan, play the audio of Amy Klobuchar asking a judge a question.
President Trump's attacks on these judges has made for some major risks for these judges. I would ask you, Mr. Panuccio, and not in a partisan way, just normal, as a partner in a law firm, have you ever taken to social media to personally attack a judge who ruled against you?
Senator.
That's all my question is.
Senator, thanks for the question. I think that attacking judges personally and not their reasoning, well, let me just give you a quote. I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind and you will pay the price.
I've asked
you. Want to know, you won't know what hit you if you go forward with those awful decisions. That was something that Senator Schumer said, and I thought it was awful, and it unleashed a wave of violent threats against Supreme Court justices. I do think that's problematic, that kind of language.
I have no doubt the language is a problem on the left or right. I was just asking you if you have ever personally attacked a judge after you disagreed with the ruling. I'm asking you.
I have not.
Did it. Thank you.
She immediately regretted that question as soon as she asked it because, again, we saw numerous senators. And, again, how long has the violence been going on against judges, and who really started it? Just saying. All right, let's just power through this before we take a commercial break. Trump issued an ultimatum to China: remove the 34% retaliatory tariffs or face 50% tariffs from the U.S., and all talks with China on the issue will be terminated. Negotiations with other countries which have also requested meetings will begin taking place immediately. That's coming from Donald Trump. I guess China threatened to dump treasuries, and then they actually, I think, started dumping treasuries. So I think they have $680 billion or something, like $700 billion in U.S. treasuries that they could dump. But I'm reading experts Who is this from? Zero Hedge. It'll be economic suicide for them. Less than 3% of our total debt is Treasury, so we are hardly sweating. But for Beijing, it would tank their own financial stability. Plus, Trump might buy the Treasuries back. Or I guess the Fed could, just a click away. Also, Trump is also saying the U.S. is on track to fully eliminate capital gains tax in 2025. And I know people are going to make the joke if the market gets any more red, you're not going to have any capital gains tax. But this is going to make people invest in the stock market more. He's playing chess here. And we were talking about the tariffs. Illinois cattle rancher says President Trump's tariffs are a game changer for the beef industry. Quote, we're happy that the president finally singled us out and said we do need to increase our beef sales to other countries. It'll be a great time for our industry. And he's right. As beef exports grow, this could be a real boost for Illinois farmers and other farmers in states that I don't even know Illinois really had that many farmers still. I thought Illinois was all just Chicago. But again, that's what we need. China has like no beef, no meat at all. They would be salivating for us to export meat and beef to them. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about illegals bragging about being here now. What's going on? Stay tuned. Listen to Thinking Logically on 99.3 FM WBVP.
It's Joe Corsi here from Thinking Logically to tell you about Beaver County's #1 realtor, Mark Galla with RE/MAX Select Realty. With over 10 years experience, Mark knows all the ins and outs of the real estate business, so whether you're looking to rent, buy, sell, or swap your house, you can rely on Mark to take the hassle out. Mark Galla of RE/MAX Select Realty, going above and beyond. It's Joe again from Thinking Logically, here to tell you about one of my favorite clothing items, the MyPillow hoodie. Two things I love the most about this hoodie are how it fits and how it feels. This hoodie is extremely roomy, and its terry cloth material makes it lighter than any other hoodie I own. Use promo code LOGIC to maximize your savings. The MyPillow hoodie. Get yours today.
It's true, putting all of your eggs into one basket not only makes them easier to carry around, but it can also save you money. This is Kalen from Freedom United Federal Credit Union. And yes, I'm the guy behind our recent social media campaign that compared consolidating high-rate credit cards to putting all your eggs into one basket. Sometimes, having lots of options is beneficial, but usually not when it comes to credit cards. Combining balances and getting better terms almost always saves you money. And I can prove it. Get this. Last month, Freedom United Federal Credit Union saved our members over $23,000 by helping them put all those eggs or credit card balances into one easy, manageable basket. Or should I say account? It's the month for eggs, so let's gather all of yours, put them into one basket, and put Freedom United in your future. Member NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM WBVP, brought to you by So Fresh, So Clean Pressure Washing. Whether you need your house washed, driveway clean, patio done, fences, gutters, you name it. Call Dave from So Fresh, So Clean Pressure Washing at 724-252-4489. That's 724-252-4489. They're fully insured and offer free estimates. So what are you waiting for? Don't be the outcast in your neighborhood with a dirty house or deck. Call Dave at So Fresh, So Clean Pressure Washing today. Okay, so we got a lot of stories this segment about illegals. The first segment, obviously, we're talking about all the protests that we saw going on in this country and how the same idiots that, were screaming burn down the system for 30 years are now protesting to save that same system. Stock markets, tariffs, Barack Obama possibly being a traitor to the country in our second segment, and more. And like I said, now it's time to talk about illegal migrants. So, Ryan, play the audio of the illegal at the one of the protests bragging about being here, and just play the audio.
My name is Gracia Martinez Rosas. I am an immigrant. I am undocumented, unafraid, queer, and unashamed.
She's undocumented, unafraid, queer, and unashamed.
She also makes $188,000 a year. Ryan, do you make $188,000 a year?
Almost.
A few more tariffs, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, she makes $188,000 a year. You've been here for how long in this country?
Pretty much all my time here.
Pretty long time. Okay.
Yes.
Did you see this woman, though?
I have not.
Okay. I'm all for deporting her, but Tom Homan and ICE, they're going to need one of those cranes that is used to move. You ever see the killer whales from tank to tank?
Yeah,
she's a large one. She sounds and looks like Jabba the Hutt, if you could look her up. I mean, she's basically saying, there will be no bargain, my young Jedi. I shall stay in this country illegally and eat and live for free. I wish I could do a Jabba the Hutt voice.
Where's she out of? Where's she from? Or where's she? What state?
If you ask the liberals, they'll say, I don't even know what state it was,
Okay.
honestly. She's about the size of a state, so maybe Texas, everything's bigger there. Is that what it is? I don't know. Let's move on, though. This is from Wall Street Apes on X. CBS News 6 months ago. They pretended there were no illegal migrant gang activity in Aurora, Colorado. CBS News today. Quote, this now shut down apartment complex was one of the most dangerous areas in Aurora, Colorado. Where was this reporting during the election? And then they go on to say dozens of people have been arrested and deemed or labeled as members of the Tren de Aragua gang, an internal criminal organization, a dangerous gang that was formed in Venezuela and has had criminal activities in countries throughout the region and here in the U.S. The crackdown that happened here seems to have significantly reduced crime in the area. Amazing how they're reporting on it now. Who's the caller? Dawn. Send him over. Send Dawn.
It's Dawn.
Welcome back, Dawn. How have you been?
You know what? It's about time somebody started some fat shaming against the Democrats.
How about this? How about a 200% tariff on all women in the Democratic Party over 250 pounds?
Oh, Lordy. You know, that could generate up to $2 trillion a year. Hey, all kidding aside, a friend of mine, he tells me lies. And he's been doing it since I've been a little kid, but he thinks that I'll repeat them on the air, but I always put an asterisk beside them. He said that the protesters are getting paid $300 a day. You know, money's money. Where should I show up to take part in these George Soros-sponsored domestic terrorist protests? And should I bring the Trump is a Nazi or the stock market is crashing sign?
Well, hey, a good protester would have one on each side of the sign, Don.
Right.
You're about as smart as them on that one.
I'm not. And you know, is there any way we could start teaching the history of World War II in school so we can quit this Trump is a Nazi nonsense?
They really need to hear it, because I don't think they understand what it's like. Like, we don't have. We had something close to a Gestapo here when they were going to school board meetings, teacher meetings. We don't have anything like that. Name one person here illegally Trump's arrested in his 80 days. We don't have anything like that.
Well, he's tried to send some gang members back, and some liberal judges stopped that. We all know what they're doing. If they won't let us take the worst of the worst out of here, I'll tell you what, I got a solution. Let's just start deporting white liberals.
Sadly, they get due process. But you brought up the Maryland. I think you were talking about the Maryland father. The media keeps on hammering that over and over in our head. Maryland father deported. Maryland father deported. He was an El Salvadorian father from El Salvador. I mean, what is this?
Oh, they're all repeating that one. And also, I've been schooled a couple times on tariffs from people that didn't even know a word existed a couple weeks ago. How about you?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Everyone's a genius.
Hey, you take care.
Hey, thanks, Dawn.
All these people that were geniuses when it came to COVID, they had degrees in medical sciences. When it came to COVID, you got to stay 6 feet away.
So,
you got to wear a mask.
I got to be honest with you. You know, I have friends that are Democrats. I have friends that are Republicans, and they're, you know, a lot of decent people. But one thing that I'm noticing on social media, and this is just an observation, is a lot of these things that the left is arguing over and over about, a lot of them are memes. It's not politics.
Yeah.
There's literally memes that somebody may have made while sitting on their couch watching TV. They put it up. It gains momentum because they cater to what the left is fighting against. You don't know how many times I've seen people arguing about stuff that's not even a thing. They're just finding things to argue with people about. And I got to be honest with you, Joe, it doesn't seem like it's politics. It seems like they're finding memes on Facebook, on Twitter, and this is what's making them angry. And again, This could be you or me making these memes and putting them up.
Do you remember like 20? That was the tea movement. Whenever the stock market dropped, I guess in 2008, everyone wanted everyone wanted blood. Then not to sound like crazy or violent, they wanted blood. Now Trump's trying to save the system. The stock market's literally dipping down, and these same young kids are freaking out over the stock market. I've never seen so many 20 and 30-year-olds freak out. Unless you're 60 years old about to retire, this stock market dip doesn't affect you at all. Let me cry a few tears because it went down 10% after going down 50% when I don't cash it out for another 25 years. I mean, what is this?
Yeah.
If you're 40 years old, you got 25, you got a quarter of a century to make up for it. My Lord. Let's talk about deporting more people. What do you think?
All right.
How about we start with the Duke Blue Devils?
Okay.
Did you see this story?
No, I didn't.
Duke Blue Devil star could be deported back to the South Sudan. So a Duke Star Hoops player may face deportation because of State Department ruling on South Sudanese visa holders, put into place right before Duke lost its Final Four heartbreaking game against Houston. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced on social media Saturday that he is taking actions to revoke all visas held by South Sudanese passport holders, which would include Duke University starting freshman center. How do you say his last name? Kala Malak?
That guy, yeah, I know who he is.
Rubio claimed the restriction was due to the failure of South Sudan's transitional government to accept the return of its repatriated citizens in a timely manner. Hey, I mean, if he would have played better down the stretch, maybe he... We'll talk about that, what they did later in the episode. But so how do you get in this country then? If you can't get in across the border, you buy your way in for $5 million. This came out over the weekend, too. While on Air Force One, Trump showed off his new gold card. And it's called the Trump Gold Card. It costs $5 million and grants you residency in the United States. Call me crazy. Call me whatever you want. Call me a QAnon crazy. Call me mental. For some reason, I feel like the way he presented everything, I feel like that's some sort of like secret message to people. Not to us, but to someone that's a player in the game, to let them know he's about to play the Trump card on something.
Interesting.
He called it the Trump card?
Yeah,
and he's going like, there was no reason to do any of that. What else do we have here? All right, let's cover one more story. We touched on it last week, then we're going to take a break. Ryan, you went to Monaca. I went to Center. Did you do track? I did track. Did you do track?
We didn't have track, no, but I might have tried it if we would have had it.
So I did track. If you were to do track, why would you ever bring a knife to a track meet?
Oh, yeah, this is bad.
So the parents of Carmelo Anthony, they've now raised the GoFundMe goal from 100,000. I don't know. It might be up to 200 now. They have 170,000, I think, in it now. And that bothers me for one reason. Guilty until proven innocent. But Kyle Rittenhouse, it was on video. It looked like he was defending himself. Did he get a GoFundMe? No, he got it taken away. He got it taken away. I could give Daniel Penny, I could give lots of other excuses, but I'm not. And I don't want to play race here because I really don't care about the two races. Neither does Austin Metcalf's father. He doubled down again, saying he feels bad for the killer. Quote, "I feel sorry for the individual who made a mistake." I don't know how you say something about his father, but in another interview, he mentioned that his faith in God is the only reason why he hasn't lost it. So I just hope his comments don't influence a judge or jury to go easy on this killer if he is guilty, because that's what it's setting up here. People need to be punished for what they do. People need to learn responsibility. And taking someone's life over a disagreement over a seat. And I've never seen so many people online that just think it's okay to stab another individual over a disagreement over a seat. Come on. These are the same people that freaked out when there was a person causing a mass disturbance and scaring people on a subway. And the man was placed in a headlock. And unfortunately, he died. Everyone had a comment on that. Everyone had an opinion on that. Everyone has had an opinion on this. I don't understand how you could defend a kid bringing a knife to a track meet and stabbing a person. I don't know. And I don't want to bring race into it. I really don't.
How many times did he stab him, Joe? Was there a number or did they not specify?
Know.
Okay.
I think just once. If it was in the heart, I don't know. The one in the heart's the only one that mattered, I guess. Yeah. I mean, it's just a sad situation. Before we move to the break, World Economic Forum leader Klaus Schwab has informed the board he will be resigning. I think that was actually announced in late 2024. But I'm not sure. But that just came up now. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some viruses. Anthony Fauci, RFK, measles, and transgenderism. Stay tuned. You're listening to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM WBVP.
Excitement is surrounding the Pittsburgh Pirates after Paul Skeens' rookie season last year.
Paul Skeens is for real. 102 on his final pitch of the day. 8 strikeouts for Skeens.
Add in Kutch.
The pitch. High fly ball to center field. It's hit pretty well toward the wall. Go! Oh, my God! Oh, my God! Andrew McCutchen has won it. They're going crazy. The Pirates have won this game. And an incredible game. You can raise the Jolly Roger and call it maybe the best all time in Pittsburgh. What a game!
And you won't want to be anywhere else besides listening to Pirates Baseball on 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP. The Young Bucks are poised and ready to make a run at greatness, and Beaver County Radio is your place to tune in and listen all season long. Pirates Baseball on Beaver County Radio is being presented locally by the St. Barnabas Health System, Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Falcones Moon Township Ford, Dr. C. Timothy Lip, Patriot Home Care, and Beaver County Radio.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Welcome back to Thinking Logically here on 99.3 FM WBVP. We got a few more stories to pound through, and then we're going to talk about the national championship tonight. The first one, Dr. Anthony Fauci. I don't know what university he was talking. This is from Defiant L's on X. Anthony Fauci, the next outbreak will be a respiratory disease that's easily transmissible. Amazing how he could just predict this. I'm sure Big Pharma already has a new expensive vaccine. It's going to be a must-have. How many will you need? I don't know. We'll have to ask Dr. Fauci. RFK, he now says the best way to avoid measles virus is through the MMR vaccine. Maybe that story a week or so ago about him being controlled by Israel from that massage, whatever it was, that sex tape. Maybe that was true. Apparently a second child has died in Texas from measles. I don't know. We'll try to dive into that on the Thursday's episode of Thinking Logically. What else happened in the world? Oh, in the world of sports. Ryan, you'll like this. 2 men faced each other in the women's championship title at the Ultimate Pool Women's Pro Series event in Wagon, United Kingdom. You don't seem interested. Let me get more. Harriet Hayes and Lucy Smith, both trans-identified males, beat all the female competitors to take the spots in the women's final event, and the one that won is the one that actually looks more like a man.
Joe, it's crazy that there's a population of people out there that just think this is just fine. Let's go to the fight tonight and watch this guy beat the heck out of this girl.
That's domestic violence. We call that domestic violence in America.
You're now, giving this person okay to just beat this person up.
Watch an episode of Cops if you want to see that. Seriously,
unbelievable.
We're not gonna sanction it in the ring.
And you're going to sound crazy by thinking by being against that. They're going to turn around and say that it's unbelievable what's going on.
I guess pool. I don't know. I've seen some women with some crazy tattoos that are good at pool though. That could hang with a man. Vice President J.D. Vance brought his mother to the White House today to celebrate her 10th anniversary of being sober. So congratulations to Mrs. Vance. I think it's not her name, but J.D. Vance's mother. We got a caller? Send him over. Caller, go ahead.
Is Fauci actually an epidemiologist?
You know what? I think he might be, but I honestly, you make a good point because I don't know the last time he's actually touched or seen a patient.
Okay.
So I don't actually know what he is. I guess his title might be his title, but again, I don't think he's ever held a stethoscope and listens to a patient's lungs or anything. So
an epidemiologist is like a critical player. They are the ones that track down and do Inspector Clouseau, Sherlock Holmes evaluations on where it began and how fast it spread and who's spreading it and all that other stuff. I mean, they're smart, and he doesn't act like he's very smart.
Well, he was 0 for 1 with where the COVID came from. So he picked the wet market and not the giant coronavirus factory that was right across the river. So.
Right, and didn't mention nothing about the boat.
No, nothing. He doesn't mention it. Listen, it's all, eventually these email chains will come out, and we're going to find a lot of stuff that we didn't even think could possibly be true in this bad. So
I can't wait until he prosecutes Schiff.
Oh, that'll be another one, Pencil Neck. That goes back to 2016 too. And Ukraine.
That was nothing but genuine kangaroo court.
It was. And they got
And
away
it was
with it for
televised, like
8.
everybody was going to believe it.
And they got away with it for 6-8 years almost. So the wheels of justice grind slow, but they grind fine. So
that's right.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We're going to end the show here on one or two more stories and talk about Duke. Jim, call in anytime, though.
I'll take you up on that invitation.
Thank you. All right. Two more stories of the day. 17 nurses have come forward to reveal they had a brain tumor, and they all used to work at the same hospital in Massachusetts. The hospital said they've done tests, and the nurses didn't get the tumors at the hospital. I guess they're all benign, but that is just a weird coincidence.
Yeah, right.
I just picked up this headline right before, so I don't know. And then the crazy story of the day. Time's new cover. The dire wolf is back after 10,000 years. Here's what that means for other extinct species. I'm not sure if anyone listening is a Game of Thrones fan, but how in the hell did direwolves come back out before the Winds of Winter? This is ridiculous. George R. Martin, get on the last book, please. We actually have direwolves roaming around. And I guess they didn't recreate the direwolf. They took like 22 genes and manipulated them. I don't know. This sounds kind of scary. Maybe they should start doing it with dinosaurs. What do you think, Ryan? Buy Jeffrey Epstein's island and build a dino zoo on it? What could go wrong?
Yeah, we could use dinosaurs. Yeah. Send them in.
All right. So the national championship is tonight. Florida faces Houston. What was that comeback from behind victory for Houston? Down 6 with 20-some seconds left? And they come back and win.
I just want to make the general statement first. I thought both of these games were phenomenal, to be honest with you. Having all 4 number 1 seeds in it was certainly worth it this year. But as far as that Duke game went, I got to be honest, I didn't, in a million years, I mean, they're going down the points per game between these 4 teams that were left. They were all in the single digits, maybe one in the low teens. Houston's scoring percentage was 137th by average in the country. Yeah. I didn't in a million years expect this to happen, Joe. Yes, 6 points. How many seconds?
28 point something seconds left.
And Houston wins this game. I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe Duke lost that basketball game.
Tic-tacky foul on the over the back at the very end there to get them to shoot free throws. Say whatever you want.
Absolutely.
But hey, it's basketball. It's one game. That was March Madness.
You know what? Yes, this was a good March Madness this year. And again, it's going to take you back to the question is, with the NIL money and, how that's going to affect things in the future. But I got to say this year with all 4 ones, it was worth to sit down and watch.
I will say this, the last couple years, maybe I'm just making it up in my brain, but I feel like last year there have been blowouts in the national championship game, and it's been terrible. I think was it Purdue last year? And the year before that was it North Carolina State or someone the year before that where it was like a 20 or 30 some point blowout. I just hope it's a good game because it's going to be hard to top that game we saw on Saturday between Duke and Houston. And I picked Duke and you picked Houston.
Yes.
In my defense, you waited to the Sweet 16 before you picked Houston. But
well, I actually did it on another show and I had Houston picked. But the thing was, I didn't expect Houston to win. I honestly, truly didn't. And especially when it came down to them playing Duke in the game from over the weekend. Joe, I wouldn't have, under 100 different times, I would have never took Houston in any of them. I thought Duke was a way better team, and they were going to win that basketball game.
I think Duke was the way better team. So you see, they're importing players. So, from other countries.
I tell you what, the one other thing I do want to mention, the women, they had their championship game yesterday, and Paige Bucher and UConn, they won it over South Carolina in convincing fashion.
South Carolina was another dominant team.
They were.
UConn was a 2 seed this year, weren't they?
They were. They were the only one of the 8 teams in the Final Four between the 2 brackets that were a 2. Every other team was a 1.
Wow.
And they won big. They won big, so good for them.
Okay, that's about all we have left for today's show. Oh, we still got another minute or so. Pirates game tonight.
Yeah, they're back at it tonight. They're hosting the St. Louis Cardinals after a terrible, terrible first outing between the Yankees. They did pull off the win on a Tommy Pham extra innings walk-off yesterday, but the other 2 games, they gave up a total of 19 runs. It doesn't look good so far. Let's see what they can do with the Cardinals. Cardinals are coming in with a 5-4 record, not their usual good team, so we'll see what we can do tonight against these guys.
The relief pitching.
That's the Achilles heel. No 2 ways about it. Our relief pitching.
The starting pitching was really good. What's his name? Starts with a W. He pitched on, I think it was Sunday when they won. He threw 6-7 good innings.
Yeah.
I think 1 run.
Yeah.
One run early on, and then
what was the top of the ninth? I think it was. They had 3 runs.
Yeah.
3 runs. Can we find someone? Can we just pull someone out of the stands?
The good thing about this is there's still a lot of season left. The bad thing is there's still a lot of season left.
Well, we usually start off good, like start off pretty hot the first like 20 or 30 games. Maybe we start off average or below average the first 20 or 30, and then after the All-Star break, turn it on instead of turning it off.
Got to try something different.
And we got to get Bob Nutting to do that walk of atonement in the city of Pittsburgh, like Cersei Lannister had to do. I mean, he pay someone, get out there and buy someone, hire a sword, as they would say in Game of Thrones. All right, that's all. We'll be back here Monday, 5 to 6 p.m. Until then, I'm Joe Corsi, signing off and Thinking Logically here at 99.3 FM WBVP.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
You're listening to 99.